So coming off of the end of the previous episode, we saw Power like completely destroying that sea cucumber devil, but it actually turns out that there was another civilian devil hunter that was already tracking it. It's actually that guy in the phone booth, and we see the fallout of it here with Makima like talking to them, saying that like it's pretty much illegal for a public safety devil hunter to interfere with a civilian devil hunter who's already tracking a devil, which is like kind of weird, but it is what it is. And she's like, Denji, you need to get better control of her. And then she like teases Power a little bit, saying like maybe she isn't fit to be a devil hunter, and this like scares her, and she basically just starts blatantly lying, like obviously lying, that saying that Denji is the one who ordered her to do it, which obviously we know is not the case. But this is kind of establishing that like Power can just turn on a dime and just straight up lie, but not just obvious like this. She can actually be very deceptive as well, as we'll come to find out later in the episode. But Makima basically just wants them to get along and be effective here, because they're a part of the special team that she's organizing here. So them being like ineffective would also reflect her. So then we come to Denji and Power like getting some drinks from these vending machines, and Denji's just basically reiterating that like, just simply being able to get a drink from these vending machines is like a dream come true to him because of, how crappy his life was for, joining the public safety and becoming Chainsaw Man. And it's like, hey, we need to be better. We can't keep messing up like this, because if we do, they're pretty much going to kill the both of us. Then we get some more insight into Power here, where she's like, I hate humans. And it's not so much of a personal thing, but it's more so like an inherent aspect of just being a devil, I suppose. But she really likes cats. But she also hates devils, because there was a devil that took her pet cat Meowie away. And she says before she was able to recover Meowie, she fell into Makima's clutches. And if she has a chance of like getting the cat back, then she's willing to abide humans. She's like, I doubt you can understand such concern for a cat. And Denji's like, that's stupid, but I do whatever it takes to touch a girl's chest because we found out in the previous episode that that's like his new goal that he's going after. And hearing this, Power's like, okay, weirdo, how about if you help me get my cat back from the devil who took it, then I'll let you touch my chest. And this like invigorates Denji. And he's like, all right, bet. Then they're like on this train trolley thing, and Power's telling him that like, hey, I need you to fight against this thing, mainly because the devil knows her, and that if she tries to fight against him, then he'll probably just use the cat Meowie as like a hostage against her. And Denji's like, I had a pet named Pochita once, but I can't pet him anymore. But it's cool because, he's alive and here in my heart. Power's basically like, you're foolish. Doesn't that just mean that he's dead? The nonsense about living on in your heart is just, miserable self-comfort. And Denji wants to, lash out against her and be like, no, you're wrong, more or less. But then he looks at her chest and he's like, I guess so. He kind of just complies with her because, his big ultimate goal is being able to touch her chest, which is also lining up with what Pochita wants, because he's like, show me your dreams, Denji, in exchange for me giving your power. So, it's all lining up here. So then we come to Makima, like talking to, I guess, the higher ups of the public safety, and they're talking about, rumors of devils being used in the military, and that the American matter has got the Soviet warhawks crowing more loudly than ever. This is kind of setting up more or less what's going to happen in the future of the story, I suppose. But then they're also like, Makima, how are the hunting dogs that have been added to the squad performing? And she's like, there's one that seems promising, another one that seems interesting. And they're like, oh, interesting. Well, try not to get too attached to them. This goes back to what I was saying about how Denji and Power getting along and being effective is very important to Makima, because it's like her reputation on the line. So then we come to Aki and Makima in a car, and Aki's like, why do you have such high hopes for Denji? At this point, Makima like reveals, I guess you could say, the power system, the power scaling of the devils and how it works in this world. And I think I talked about this in my first episode review, but she says that like all devils are born with names, and that the more those names are feared, the more powerful the devil is to become. So like, for example, coffee isn't considered very frightening, so the coffee devil would probably be weak. But on the other end, a car devil would probably be strong, because people are afraid of being run over. And so far we've seen that this is pretty accurate. Like in the first episode, Denji took down the tomato devil. Tomatoes aren't really feared, so that was a weak devil. In the previous episode, the sea cucumber devil was easily destroyed by power. They're not very feared, so it's probably going to be weak. But like she said, a car devil, or let's just say like a fire devil, would probably be really strong, because those are like big popular fears. But going back to what Aki asked about, why do you see potential in Denji, essentially, she's like, Denji can turn into a chainsaw devil. Seems pretty interesting to me. And that's like pretty much a non-answer to what he asked, because it also makes you think like chainsaws are feared, I suppose, but it's not like a huge big prevalent popular fear. I mean, they're more so used as tools rather than weapons, right? Outside of like movies and stuff. So you'd think that a car devil would probably be stronger than a chainsaw devil, or somewhat comparable. Like, it's not really that big of a deal, like I said. And why is Makima think that that's interesting? It's like, don't hold your breath for those answers, and don't expect them anytime soon. That's all I'll say. So then we come to Denji and Power heading towards the house where the devil that took her pet Maui is at. And as they're walking up, Denji's like, are you really sure you should be this close? Didn't you say that he would use Maui against you as a hostage if he saw you? And she's like, oh yeah, I did say that, didn't I misspoke. And then Denji suddenly realizes like, oh, you're straight up lying, and this is kind of like a trap now. And then he starts to swing at Power, but she counters him with like her own little blood mallet, because as we saw in the previous episode, she can manipulate blood because she was the blood devil, but now she's the blood fiend, because, you know, we found out that devils can possess the corpse of people and become fiends. So then she drags Denji into the house, and we find out that it was the Bat Devil that had taken her cat as a hostage. And this is where we're also getting Power's backstory, because before Power had joined public safety, she was kind of just like this feral looking fiend person, essentially, just doing whatever she wanted, killing, drinking blood, you know, etc., until she eventually came across the cat that she calls Meowie. This cat kind of changed her life, more or less, because it was essentially the first thing that wasn't screaming or feared her, and she became, you know, protective of the cat, even though wanting to kill it at first, until randomly one day they just unfortunately came across the Bat Devil, who was injured, you know, coming off of a fight against devil hunters, as he says. And he grabbed the cat and was like, hey, you know, bring me a human so, you know, he can regenerate himself, and I'll give you back your cat. And, you know, going back to what Power said previously, you know, she eventually just runs into Makima, I guess, on her path of getting a human, and she just decided to go along with it because she would eventually be able to get to this point of bringing Denji or just another person to the Bat Devil to get her cat back. So then the Bat Devil like picks up Denji and like squeezes blood out of him and drinks it, and this is enough to regenerate his arm, because we found out in the first episode that if a devil like drinks blood, then it heals them, essentially, even to the point of just straight up regeneration. But the blood is like disgusting to him, and we can assume that this is because Denji is a human devil hybrid, so it probably doesn't taste as good as like regular human blood. Then this like angers the Bat Devil that Power brought him this ill-tasting human, so instead of giving the cat back to Power as per the original agreement, he decides to just punish her and eats the cat. And then this like breaks Power, more or less, and she reflects back on what she was talking to Denji about on the train, about when Denji said that, you know, he once had a pet, you know, Pochita, but he can't pet it anymore. And she's like, now I understand how you feel. And she kind of regrets how she treated him in that moment. She's like, yeah, this is an awful feeling. And then the Bat Devil just eats her too. And then he's about to fly off to go eat some regular people. But then we see that Denji has grabbed onto him at like the last second and is drinking his own blood. Because Denji, you know, is a human devil hybrid, so he can also heal and regenerate from consuming the blood of others. But now we're starting to see the beginning of Denji's evolution, essentially, where now he's not just acting so much selfishly as he has previously, but now he's being selfless. Yes, he realizes that Power just straight up betrayed him and tricked him, but he still is going to save her because, you know, he saw the look in her eye and what she said, and he realizes that, yeah, she is remorseful for what she's done, essentially. But, you know, he still does establish that, like, he still wants to touch the chest after all. Like, that still is his goal. It still lines up with, you know, achieving some of his dreams, which, you know, goes into what Pochita ultimately wants, but it's not just entirely selfish. Like I said, he is still saving Power just to save her, aside from what he's going to get out of it. Then he becomes Chainsaw Man again. We haven't seen him do this since the first episode, and he just instantly takes off the Bat Devil's arm here, and they wind up crashing into this building, and we're seeing more of selfless Denji here, because there's like this woman there, and he's like, hey, you know, dummy, get out of here. There's a devil I'm fighting here. He's gonna eat you. So then he continues to fight the Bat Devil, and they go out to the street, and we're seeing more of Denji being protective of the other people here, like making sure that they don't get hurt, because he winds up saving like this father and his child as well. And this is more of Denji becoming like the Chainsaw Man rather than just the Chainsaw Devil, like Chainsaw Man the hero more than anything. And he just continues to like beat down this Bat Devil here, and the Bat Devil winds up throwing like this car at him, because the Bat Devil realizes that Denji is trying to save people at this point, so he's trying to, you know, use that to his advantage. And Denji catches the car, but he's also able to retract his chainsaws, and he's like, I don't care about saving people, and he throws the car back at him. So this is like establishing a few things. First of all, they're just showing like how physically strong Denji is when he becomes Chainsaw Man. I mean, we kind of had an idea of it in the first episode, but now it's like really establishing that like, oh, he's really freaking strong when he's in this form. But also that like he doesn't necessarily completely care about saving people, but he does at the same time, but more so just to like tell the Bat Devil, it's like, hey, I don't care about saving these people, but I will because I can. Then the Bat Devil like winds up blowing Denji away with like this sonic sound blast thing, and he assumes that Denji's defeated at this point, but Denji's like, nah, and he revs back up, and he basically is just further reiterating like, hey, I'm going through all of this crap just so I could touch a chest, and I haven't even gotten that yet. I've been patient, but now I'm not waiting any longer. And this just scares the Bat Devil, and Denji winds up hitting him with like what is going to become known as like essentially his trademark move, I guess, where it's like the triple chainsaw slash blitz thing, where he just goes through them and he just annihilates the Bat Devil here. He's pretty much killing him in this sequence. Very well done. Really enjoyed this, and that's where the episode ends. So, you know, we're just gonna have to wait to next week to find out what exactly happened after this. You know, I don't want to say anything more, but you know, we'll see. But let me know what you thought about this episode in the comments, guys. And if you liked the video, please give it a like, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.